I am glad you could step out today for our tale authors. It is nice to have events to attend that entertain, educate, or both, while creating connection with others. Sometimes it is a book club, a gym, a study or hobbies group. Other times it's church socials, dance clubs, or sports events. There are many ways we interact outside the home with other people. In adolescence, we learn how to interact in society through our engagements outside of the home. When you grow up in abuse that doesn't bruise, this becomes a threat to the abuser. I have told you all some of the things I got up to that should have sent warning signs to all about the abuses we were suffering. I never stopped trying to tell or get help for all of us. I could not let go of the injustices we suffered. This became a huge problem for Steve. He knew eventually someone was going to catch him, but I was not giving up for a larger reason. It was only a matter of time before he would be exposed if I was allowed to continue informing people outside about what was going on. It was summer break, and I was grounded 24/7. I could no longer rely on school to escape my imposed prison. I was writing sentences all day, every day, unless Steve had some kind of extra cruel punishment for me to perform. Not getting to go outside and play was excruciating for an athletic kid. I determined that I had to find a way to go outside and play. This was when I started to run away. I figured out how to remove the screen from my bedroom window, so I could make it look like it was still secured after I jumped out of it. The first time I successfully executed this task, my best friend was right there giggling and laughing as we went to play in obscurity, so none of the neighbors would inform Steve of my being outside of the house. I continued this habit for a month into the summer break before things escalated. We had gone on a family outing to the lake for swimming. While there, Steve was being playful due to the audience of other beachgoers. I was actually enjoying myself. Mom did not learn to swim until she was in her 50s. Yet still she was even in the water, splashing and floating in the hot summer sun. It was a good day until it wasn't. I don't know what changed, but Steve shifted the dynamic of what fun was. He had been tossing us kids through the air into the deep water. We were lined up all waiting our turn to get thrown. I was on my second go-round, excited to feel the thrill of flying through the air as Steve picked me up. He looked at me and I saw the dull twinkle in his eyes that fooled so many people into thinking he was genuine turn into the genuine glee that shone in his gaze only when his sadistic nature had feasted. In the blink of an eye, I was being held under the water. I had not even had a chance to breathe, and with the quickness of it all, I had gulped in some water as I went under. I was choking on it, flailing desperately for air with pain in my throat and lungs. He had both hands on me, one on my head, the other grasping my strong arm to prevent me from hitting him. I had my eyes open under the water, trying to see any advantage I could find to free myself from my imminent death. It seemed like forever and I was blacking out, when suddenly I was above the water, with Mum walking me to the shallows. She was rightly concerned about me and angry at Steve. It was the first I'd seen her genuinely pissed about his mistreatment of me. It was also the first time Steve had seen it. This event did not change me getting punished all the time for everything and nothing, but it did change Mum's way of treating me in those punishments. She became in fear for my life as much as I was in fear for my family's lives. This is why she kept that drawer full of sentences for nearly 40 years to protect me. The second outing I got to attend was when Steve got his new Harley Davidson. I even got to ride with him on it. This was a treat for me. My grandpa had a motorcycle and used to give me rides before he sold it. We made it around the block, and on the turn back, he tried to shake me from the bitch seat on the last turn. I stayed on, but he made a huge deal about me being too fat to ride with anyone, because they would not be able to control the bike. He took Mom for a ride just after my almost mishap. She had scorn on her face for seeing me almost thrown from the bike. On that same turn, he downed the bike with both of them on it. He was wearing his leathers, so he didn't get hurt, but Mom was in shorts and a tank top. She ended up getting road rash and a brand new full leather outfit with fringe. It looked stunning on her too. My mum rocked that outfit, no doubts. What I got from that outing was the knowledge that Steve would, most assuredly, kill my mum any time he chose, no matter who was there to witness it. This comes into play more in upcoming tales. By this point, I realized I had to try harder to get someone to listen to me about what was going on in my home life. So I began to run away. I managed to get in 3 tries to another friend's house a mile away before my door was removed and my window was nailed shut. I had a couple inches that I was allowed to open, nothing more. This is when my best friend started to sneak me sandwiches through the crack. We were discovered and the items to crawl upon to reach my window got permanently removed. This was when Steve started to let my sister go roller skating into the teen dances every week, just so I would be hurt about not getting to go. Towards the end of summer, Steve decided to get a pilot's license. When I was 18 months old, a family friend saved my life. He was a Harley-Davidson shop owner and had a plane. He also trapped skunks for people, which he would care for then release into the wild. I have heard he had his own dark secrets since my childhood, but he will always be the man who brought my non-responsive body back to life after 8 minutes. When Steve was getting his flight time in, us kids got the chance to go up with them. I figured I would be safe due to my benevolent family friend being in attendance. I was wrong. Steve flew us out over the Great Lake, then cut the engines, putting the plane into a nosedive. I was terrified. He brought it back before it was too late, but I saw the fear in our family friend's face at what Steve had just done. We did not get to see him again after that, until Steve was out of our lives. The final outing I got to attend was just before school started again. Where we lived, fall was hunting season. I had already gone to hunter and gun safety classes, because it was a common thing for children in my area to do. Steve decided he wanted to go practice shooting for the upcoming season. The first trip was a whole family event. We went to the gravel pit, and everyone got to shoot at the dirt walls where the gravel had been dug out from. So, when Steve told Mum he was going to take us kids shooting the next evening, she had no problems okaying the outing. We did not go to the gravel pit though. My sister stayed home with my brother, and I was the only kid going. He took us to an old apple orchard miles from any house. When we got there, he pulled out the handgun and not the rifle, which bothered me a bit. The rifle did not hold as many rounds, and the whole premise behind shooting practice was to get ready for hunting season. You do not use a handgun for hunting. Steve lined up apples on the railing of an old fence on the orchard's edge, then shot them off the railing. He was a good shot, and when all the apples were down, he began to reload. "Go line them up," he said to me with that glee of cruelty in his eyes as he closed up the chamber for the rounds. I was terrified. I began walking towards the fence, picking up apples to replace the ones Steve had shot down. Every time I bent down to pick up an apple, Steve shot a round off near enough to me that the dirt sprayed me. I wanted to cry. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. I did none of these things. I took in terrified gasps of air as I continued to complete the task that was given to me. I never looked back at him either, until I was returning from completing my task. Steve's face had the largest, most genuine, joyful grin on it. When I got back to him, all he said was I could kill you, your mum, your brother, or your sister, anytime. If I had just shot you, nobody would have even found your body to know you were dead. It would just look like you run away again, and nobody would even go looking for you. I knew what he said was true, because I had been trying to tell people for over a year now, and nobody would believe me. I knew if Steve wanted me to die, I was going to die. This is when my rebellion had to be more internal than my previously external actions had been. A part of me did die that day. The part of me that felt entitled to be alive. I had not thought much about death as a kid. I had not thought about how easy life could be taken away. I began to fear living. I knew it might bring me death that day. This fear kept me quiet from that point on. My eyes became hollow because I could not speak my truth or obtain justice for the suffering. I became a shell of a person on the outside. Thankfully, even though my inside was wounded, it was strong. My outings over the next couple of years were no longer about trying to get justice for me and my family. They became my refuge. I got to spend weekends at my grand's house. I got a library card and got to go every 2 weeks for an afternoon. I even got to go to the teen dances every so often, with the sleepovers that followed. I learned as long as I kept my mouth shut, I got to pretend to be a free person every once in a while. I also got out of the home to work, but we can get into that in our next tale, authors. When we fear to be awake and living, it is an abuse without bruises. The reality of living is that death is a part of it. Every cell of our body that we have when we are born has died by the time we reach puberty. The foods we eat are dead, and they have only grown to be eaten because death nourished them. There is an intricate balance of give and take to being alive. Death is just a necessary part of that. The abuse was that life could be taken without cause. As a child, this injustice is appalling. To understand that not only were there people in the world who would treat you bad, there were people who would take what belongs to nobody but you. Take your life. This may be a potential threat in our greater society, but it should never be the threat from within your home. Authors, I genuinely hope none of you has had to experience similar situations in your stories. Once you experience such truths about reality, you are unable to see the world any other way. You never again get to hope the person across from you is not capable of doing such a thing. You forever know that everyone could be the death of you. I do not know how to tell someone to heal from such abuses. I only know how I can personally manage having such knowledge in every considered action in my life since the abuse occurred. Therapy was the only way to manage such dark truths for me. I don't believe there is a way without therapy to overcome such aversions in life. I also got one of life's greatest gifts out of this horror show of a childhood. I genuinely appreciate every single second I am alive. Even in the greater depths of despair, I can find the will and motivation to keep on living. I love being alive, even when it comes with the worst imaginable circumstances. I love myself enough to live outside of the influences of abusers, because they are everywhere. Authors, I hope you love being alive as much as I do too. It is the secret weapon to surviving and thriving beyond the abuses that do not bruise. Our healing lies in wanting to live. Cheers to living it up on the outside. Authors.